Welcome back to another Post-Media Ottawa Senators panel. I'm Bruce Garrioch, pleased to be joined today by TSN 1200 color analyst Gord Wison. Technical issues, Gord, kept play-by-play man Dean Brown off the air today, so it's just you and me. You get all the airtime you want. But as we sit here today, Gord, you're getting an unexpected break in the schedule with the Senators on pause for 3 games because of the COVID-19 outbreak in the dressing room. Obviously, this is something the National Hockey League really tried to avoid, but I think they got to the point, Gord, where they had no choice.
Well, they had no choice. There's no question about that. I think in a perfect world, the scenario would have unfolded maybe the week before or last week, perhaps, and a couple of games would have been canceled. But clearly, the league has some scheduling issues. And when there is a team from the West or a couple of teams from the West that travel east, and the whole eastern swing is part of a swing. In other words, Calgary would visit Toronto, it would visit Montreal, and have a stop in Ottawa. They want to try and desperately keep hold of those scenarios. And so with Ottawa now, one game against Nashville already being postponed, but another game against the New York Rangers, for instance, on Saturday being postponed. It's something that's probably a little bit easier to schedule for the Senators and for the league. So it's necessary. It's at the point now where it's vital that it gets done and allows this team collectively to get healthy.
Well, and I think, Gord, it kind of went on too long. I think if they had been more proactive, the National Hockey League, than reactive to 10 cases, but it felt like, when they made the Sharks play through 7, it felt like Ottawa had to get way above that number for it to happen. That being said, the Senators, as we speak, are scheduled to be back on the ice Saturday morning. I think, given the last 4 or 5 games, it's really quite difficult to get a true read on this team. But where do you feel like this team is at? I think is at the 10, 12 game mark, I think it's fair to say they're short of expectations. I'm not sure anybody expected them to be a playoff contender, but I think we expected improvement upon last year.
Yeah, without question, I can tell you, and I think this unequivocally, that the injuries to Colin White and Shane Pinto have been dealt this team a serious blow. Add to that the COVID issues, and there's just not enough depth in the organization. And I'm not sure any team that has been rebuilding for the last few years and is relying on young players to carry the mail for quite a bit of a game. In other words, Colin White and Shane Pinto are big pieces to this hockey club. Any team that would have gone through this, you could probably say the same thing about the depth of an organization. Not everybody has 6 or 7 forwards, 6 or 7 centermen that could just step in automatically and your forward lines not miss a beat. The Senators, no exception. So the fact that Colin White hurt himself in preseason, and it was established early that he was going to be out for a long time, and then 4 games into the season, Shane Pinto hurt himself, come back 9 games later and re-injure himself, is a strong indication that this team needs to do something in order to strengthen its position down the middle. Have expectations been met? No, clearly they haven't. But I'm really of the belief, Bruce, that it's injuries, and on top of that, the COVID situation that has put a damper on things big time.
Well, and it's almost like those injuries in the middle kind of derailed their plans, right? Because I think we saw early in the season that Shane Pinto is a center in this league. He's going to be a pretty good center in this league, and I think that it hasn't helped that I think in the last 4 or 5 games, Josh Norris has struggled. But I think he struggled because of the attention he's getting.
100%.
And I think that the pieces are all still there. The issue is, as you say, they took 2 pretty big pieces out that were being relied on to, quite frankly, play big roles on this team. And so now, do you think that I'm of the opinion they shouldn't go out and give up a big asset to make a trade? I think if they do make a deal, it should be a soft deal. What's your take on that?
Well, my take is define asset, define big asset. This team
Well, I
has,
mean, a high end prospect or a first or second round draft pick,
yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
I would certainly hang on to my first round picks. The Senators have 5 picks in the first 2 rounds this
Yeah.
coming draft. Say goodbye to a couple of them. Okay, say goodbye to a couple of second rounders if need be. There are teams out there that are going to be going through a process of rebuild and may have an asset that the Senators would use. I would certainly study the situation to the point where it's not a quick fix answer. In other words,
Yeah.
I'd like to get somebody, and these guys don't grow on trees. I'd like to get somebody between the ages of 22 and 27 that has term left on an acceptable contract,
Right.
but can grow with your hockey club, but can instantly make your hockey team a little bit better, because there clearly needs to be a shuffling of the cards here. When you take away a Colin White and a Shane Pinto, and just very quickly here, Bruce, I'll tell you, the Senators 11-4-1 with Shane Pinto in the lineup. When he missed those 9 games, they went 1-7-1.
Okay. There you go. Yeah.
He's a big part of the organization. And you're right, even at 21 years of age, he's an established NHLer. I think it's pretty clear, and he's going to go through his highs and lows. There's no question, but there's going to be more highs than lows with Shane Pinto. So that being said, when you have to shuffle the deck a little bit, then you have to shift a natural winger like Nick Paul into the middle. It takes away his strengths a little bit. Now he's got to readjust. And a lot of this is as much a mental adjustment as it is a physical adjustment. And as a result, the coach is now trying to piecemeal together a lineup that includes now an awful lot of minor leaguers.
Yeah, and I look at the situation and I know what you're saying. Like if you in the perfect world, they get a guy in that age cohort. Pardon me, you're talking about, Gord, and you're right. They've certainly got the assets if they want to make a deal. But you and I both know that, Pierre Dorion and anybody will tell us that 20 game mark is kind of the mark where everybody measures where they're at in the National Hockey League. Around American Thanksgiving, and we're 2 weeks away from that. So maybe the market opens up a bit then.
Yeah, perhaps. I totally agree with what you're saying, but I think that 20 game mark is now 15. I think the league has progressed to the point where the parity is such in the league, any team can beat any other on any given night, that general managers are now looking not at the 20 game mark, but perhaps as early as the 15, maybe the 10, 12 game mark, where you see what you have, you see what everybody else has, and if you're that far behind the pack when you think you should be with the pack or ahead of the pack, that's when you need to probably make a move and preempt and offer a preemptive strike, basically get something done early, get into the party early before it becomes too late.
Well, and then the intriguing question for this team right now, obviously, is the goaltending. And Philip Gustafson has come in, and at times he's done a very good job.
Most times, Bruce, he's done a very good job. The majority of times, he's done a very good job. Right?
And it sounds to me, just from listening to DJ Smith, that the goaltending, and this is just my sense, Matt Murray is on the COVID-19 protocol list. I think he's eligible to come out Sunday if they do play Monday in Denver.
Okay.
My sense, just from speaking to DJ Smith, is and Pierre Dorion, and is that Matt Murray is going to have to earn his starts now, and that's the way it should be, shouldn't it? Nothing will be handed anymore.
No, there's no question about that. But at the same time, is this team prepared to carry 3 goaltenders? Because clearly the player who is penciled in to be a minor leaguer, and his contract would indicate that as well, is Philip Gustafson. Unfortunately for the organization, but fortunately, it's a double-edged sword here, because he's got the best numbers. He's posting the best numbers. Of the 9 points this team has so far this season, 7 have been with Philip Gustafson in the nets. And you can't argue those numbers. And certainly the eye test tells you 100% as well that he's playing probably better on a consistent basis than the other goaltenders. And he's obviously been, knock on wood, the most healthy of the three. There's been an injury to Anton Forsberg. There's been an illness and an injury, a couple of illnesses and an injury to Matt Murray. I'm totally in agreement that nothing gets handed, no matter what your salary and your status and lot in life. Nothing should be handed to you. And I think this organization and certainly this team believes that that has to be the case now.
Just one more point on the goaltending, Gord. I think personally they're willing to carry three because if you look at it, they've had to use them all.
Yes. Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely right. And I think the mentality for the coach has to be almost a win and you're in scenario. And if it's Philip Gustafson continuing to carry the mail and give them the best opportunity to win hockey games, then he should be the one that continues to play. And the same holds true. That philosophy holds true for all goaltenders.
Yeah.
Matt Murray gets himself in and plays extremely well, and they get
the net.
Come close. Then why not give him the next start? Give him an opportunity to roll as well.
Well, before we go, I just wanted to get your take on this is the first chance we've had to speak to you since Brady Tkachuk was named the club's new captain, the 10th captain in the history of the franchise. What's his biggest challenge?
Getting this team out of the situation that they're in. And it's an awful lot to ask of a 22-year-old first-year captain in the league. I think his biggest challenge is to stay Brady. Brady being Brady is the best way to describe things. When Brady is on, Brady's just being Brady. And I don't think he'll have a problem with that challenge. I don't think you need to tell him to take things off his plate. He knows what it's all about. And there's the utmost faith, I think, within the organization and certainly the fan base that as captain of this team and a beleaguered team right now, that he'll be able to help guide the team to better days ahead. Well,
Gordon, we appreciate your time today. Thanks very much for joining the Senators panel. We're sorry we missed Dean.
Are we?
Yeah,
Are we really?
we not really, no. But don't ever forget, Gord, I wear the C on this panel.
Yes.
Thanks for joining the Post Media Senators panel. For Post Media in Ottawa, I'm Bruce Garrioch with TSN 1200's Gord Wison.